Today we're going to be talking into the MCAT, also known as the Medical College Admissions Test. This is going to be a more brief overview where you can find resources and kind of first steps, things that you should know maybe before you are committing to taking the MCAT and applying to medical school. So the main resource that I recommend to all people that need to learn a little bit more about the MCAT or even where to find study materials is using the AAMC. This is the same institution that is putting out applications for MD schools, but it also is the institution that is hosting the MCAT and putting it on. So their resources are going to be pulled directly from previous exams, directly from question banks that other students actually took, and those should be your first resource, your go-to for studying and testing yourself for the MCAT, because it's the actual material that's going to be on the test. Now, the other link below that is the statistics from last cycle's scores on the MCAT. It's an important thing maybe to look at when you have done a practice exam or you're trying to figure out kind of where you're at in the pool. These are going to change year by year, and generally they're going to increase a little bit every year, but that is something that might be important to see where you're at and how you're doing. So about the test itself, there are 4 main sections, and I have this little diagram which will be posted on a PDF that you guys can access, but the sections are at the very top right here. The first is Chem and Phys, so Chemical and Physical Foundations of Biological Systems. It's 95 minutes long, 59 questions, and it includes passage-based as well as multiple choice questions. It has a list here of the specific content, so maybe what these would align with in your prereq courses at your institutions, and then some more details below. The second is your CARS, or Critical Analysis and Reasoning Skills. I will personally say that this section takes the most out of you, in my opinion. It's almost like your reading section on an ACT or SAT. It's all passage-based. It includes 9 passages, and it's something that you need to practice an extensive amount if you are not familiar or good at reading quickly and understanding things fast. It's also an important section to work on note-taking skills, brief things to write down so that you can remember specific details of a passage. I would say that this was the hardest section for me. The next is your biological and biochemical foundations of living systems, 95 minutes like your Chem Phys, as well as 59 questions, which is the same. It's also going to include passage-based as well as multiple choice questions that are not going with the passages, and the content is also listed below there. And then the last is your psych-soc, so that's psychological, social, and biological foundations of behavior. This is the section that I would say is the most memorization-based. There is a psych-soc document that has an extensive amount of information that is good to look over prior to taking the MCAT that I will also provide on a further resource. But this material is something that usually you're not going to have to think super critically about. It's more of whether you know the topic, know the testing situation, and understand how to go about the problem solving of material that you already have, rather than like a Chem Phys passage where you have to actually calculate something in a physics situation. So as you can see, these sections are extensively long and there's a lot of questions. So another aspect of the MCAT to keep in mind is that it is also an exam that's like a marathon. You do get breaks during the exam, but it is long. It's averaged about 7.5 hours of seated time. So whether you are taking the full time or not, it is a very long exam. A very important thing that I learned is to practice with practice exams like you are taking your real exam. Put yourself in a scenario where you don't have interruptions, you're not taking extra breaks, you're doing each section fully at a time, so that you're not going through your CARS and doing maybe 5 passages, stopping, and then doing the other 4. Do all 9 straight through, and then take your breaks like your allocated breaks on the real exam. Half of the battle is being able to sit and stay locked in for the entire exam. So if you practice how you'll actually take the exam, that will help you immensely. Okay, moving on. So your exam scores. the points that you're getting from the exam are based on what you get correct throughout and not what you get incorrect. So my recommendation is to answer everything. Just because you answer something wrong does not mean you're getting points taken off, but you will not get them added if you don't answer it at all. Also, there is 4 answer choices for each question, so you have a 25% chance of getting something right. Your score is broken into the 4 sections that I talked about before, and then it is also combined into a total score for the whole exam. Your practice exams, these scores will not be weighted just because they're old exams if you take them from the AAMC. Your real exam testing day, it'll take about a month to get your score back, and it will be based on the scores of everyone else who took that same exact exam. So it will be scored like your practices, but also they do look back through every question to see if they were fair questions for everyone. If a lot of people missed a question, kind of looking back to see maybe that was faulty, maybe it wasn't presented in the best way, so that could make an influx on your score one way or another. You will have a percentile rank associated with your score that the AAMC will release to you, and then you can log in to see essentially the percentile ranks of other people who took that same exam, where the average was, and those kinds of things to see where you stand up against them. And then finally, like I said, it takes about a month after your exam to get your score back, and it'll be emailed to you. A few more important things. How many times can you take the MCAT? This is a big question. You might take it once, you might take it more than once. It doesn't say anything that's good or bad against you either way. But your MCAT can be taken up to 3 times within one testing year. Now, between 2 years, you can take it 4 times, so however you space that out is how you want to do it. But total opportunities to test is 7. You get 7 total seated testing appearances, and that includes if you schedule an exam and you do not cancel it within the required period of time, or you don't have a valid reason to cancel, that counts as a testing opportunity. And then when you take your exam and get your score back, they're usually good for between 2 to 3 years when you're applying, and that's school dependent. But 2 years is usually the average for that. Okay, this is what an MCAT score report is going to look like when you get it back. These little diamonds are scoping between the span of your score in that section. Here is the section score for each individual that I talked about. And then here's your percentile rank, like I said. Like if you're within the 84th percentile of all that took it, you're in the top 84% of everyone that took that exam. Obviously, you want these to be as high as possible. It'll show you the median rank over here compared to other people. And then your MCAT total score is what is added up, and this is your section between there. So you're between a 508 and a 512 competence band, and you're totally within the 78th percentile of all test takers of that exam. These score breakdowns are presented to you for AAMC practice exams as well as your real exam. I'm not positive, but I do believe that the AAMC has 4 practice exams. 1 is free and the rest are for purchase. But you can click on this link and it'll show you all the materials. The AAMC also has section materials, so you could take Chem Phys section questions if you're struggling with that, or Cars section questions if you're struggling with that, prior to taking one of the full-length exams too. So this is the quick overview of the MCAT. We'll have a bit more information in future videos where I might walk through some of the more specific parts, but leave any comments for questions that you might have.